Our first variation of cover 4 is what we just call 4. In 4, our outside linebacker is our jump 2 player. So he is the guy that is responsible for the outbreaking route of the number 2 receiver. In 4, our corners are reading the number 1 receiver. If number 1 is vertical, he's going to lock on that number 1 wide receiver. If number 1 hitches or works out, the corner's eyes are now going to go to the number 2 receiver and feather if that number 2 receiver is vertical. If number 1 is in, that corner is going to yell in, pass it off, and his eyes are going to work to that number 2 receiver. If that number 2 receiver is vertical, he's going to feather with it. If not, he's looking for anything working back across the formation to him. Our safeties are reading the number 2 receiver, and they are slow pedaling on the snap. If the number 2 receiver is vertical, the safety is going to lock on man to man and maintain inside leverage on that route the entire way through. If number 2 is out, the safety's eyes look to number 1, and now he is matching routes of that number 1 receiver. We tell him, you want to rob the route of that number 1 receiver. So posts, digs, slants, that guy can be super aggressive in terms of robbing those routes if that number 2 receiver is out. If 2 is in, our safeties slow pedal. They want to work their weave, stay on top of the route, and then creep and cross key. By creep and cross key, I mean if that number 2 receiver is truly running an under route and you know it's shallow, now his eyes go to the opposite side of the formation and he's looking for anything working deeper back in the middle of the field towards him. Our outside linebackers, they're going to get their run pass key, and they are the jump 2 player, meaning if you get an out route by the number 2 receiver, you are jumping it and you are taking it right away. If the number 2 receiver isn't out, you're working 2-2 with your eyes on the number 1 receiver, waiting for that number 1 receiver to hitch or fall out. So we tell those guys, you know, if you can get your hands on the number 2 receiver, awesome. But you're working 2-2 with your eyes on 1, ready for anything to fall out or hitch from that number 1 receiver if 2 isn't out right away. Why would we call 4? You know, an obvious pass situation, we get those outside linebackers involved in the pass. If we're getting smash concepts, 4 is really good against a smash concept if teams are wanting to take that deep corner shot. If we're getting really deep vertical switch routes by the number 1 and number 2 receiver where our corners and our safeties can pass off those vertical exchanges, or if the offense is targeting the number 1 receiver with comebacks, fallouts, we're able to get that outside linebacker underneath of that number 1 receiver and alleviate some pressure for that corner.